Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to patreon.com/truecrimewives and get lots of great extras.
On the Good Wife's Guide to True Crime, we discuss crimes that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Dee Dee, I understand if you're sick, if you don't feel good, could you please call me back, or at least pick up the phone. Let me know that everything's okay.
If you're into all the gross, gory details of murder, tonight's episode is the one you've probably been waiting for. We've finally arrived at the night of the murder. I never really felt a whole lot of sympathy for Dee Dee in all of this, but she didn't deserve this death. She deserved to rot in prison and suffer every day for the chaos she created in so many lives. But the brutality with which she was murdered, nobody deserves that. I've had a lot of feelings about this for the last few years. They've pretty much run the gamut from complete disbelief to total anger. I began with this case thinking what we were doing was highlighting a terrible abuse a child went through, and how that abuse led to this tragic murder. But now, to be honest, I'm not so sure. Gypsy was abused, I'll never deny that. And it's terrible that abuse she suffered caused her to walk the path she is on. But it does not excuse this kind of brutality. It doesn't give her a pass on murder. I used to think she thought she had no other option, but as we've dug and dug, that's not the case. Not only did she have numerous other options, I truly believe she chose this one very specifically and for her own gain. I don't think she chose this path because she was trying to escape an abusive mother. I believe she chose this path because that abusive mother created a very cold, calculated, manipulative sociopath, and she wanted the person who could possibly not only stand in the way of the life she wanted, but also could send her to prison for fraud and lay a lot of the responsibility on her. I think she felt that if her mother was loved, and she might be so she took that out of the equation permanently. She used Nick to do that. Nick was a guy who had a darkness laying in wait, and she used that for her advantage. And I think she did so knowing in the end she was going to walk away from him too. I didn't come to these conclusions lightly or quickly, but over time, it's been what I settled on. You may see things totally different, and that's okay. I'd love to know after hearing everything we've told you in these episodes, exactly what you think.
folks, it's time to grab your glass of wine because the good wives, Fancy, Colleen, and Christina, are about to serve up another true crime case.
Hey guys, well, tonight we are talking about the biggest part of this whole thing, and it's the murder. Ugh, finally.
Dun, dun.
Finally. I mean, we've talked a lot about all kinds of different things throughout this whole thing. You know, we've talked all about Gypsy's medical and what Dee Dee was like, and Nick and Gypsy meeting, and we've talked about the text messages. I know that episode was really long. I'm so super sorry. I could not figure out a place to split that and just give it to you. I know it was like a 3-hour long episode, crazy, but I bet you that was one of the most riveting ones you've listened to. But tonight, it's all murder all the time. And this is the part that gets everybody really interested. I mean, people want to know, was Gypsy in the room? Did she actually stab her mom? What about, them leaving and all these different things? What about the brownies? So tonight we are trying to cover as much of that as we can.
And hopefully you find each piece interesting and that you get those answers to those questions. I know I'll enjoy talking about the brownies.
I mean, we still don't know whether the brownies were made during,
Before,
after, before, but there was definitely brownies being made.
there were brownies. I hope they were worth it for that video.
Oh my God. That video.
Cringe.
That was some damning evidence right there, man. If that had gone to trial, that jury would have convicted on that, man. If Darlie Roudier can get convicted on silly string, Gypsy Rose Blanchard would have been convicted on fucking brownies, man. Not even kidding.
100%. I really enjoy watching her be like, he really enjoyed Silly String. It was a memoriam for him, not celebrating this child's death.
I mean, I fully believe that and that's a case that we're going to talk about eventually, is Darlie. And I think that she was convicted on big boobs, big hair, and silly string. I don't think there was anything else that convicted her. I think I've watched every episode of everything on her, and let me tell you, I don't think that woman is guilty at all. And I think that the people that convicted her were just mad because she was beautiful and vivacious and lively. And you know what? I even watched it a couple nights ago. I was watching the one where the juror was like, I mean, who does that? It's just so degrading. As a mother, I'm offended. And I'm like, really? Because as a mom, I totally understand what she was doing. I totally get it. And I think that as a mom, she was celebrating her son's life and trying to find some amount of happiness in a moment of just absolute sheer pain,
Which she was trying to memorialize her child.
Yes.
Versus the brownies celebrating her mother's death.
Yes. There is
two different things.
Two totally different things. That silly string, she was thinking of, my son would have wanted that. That's what he wanted for his birthday, and I'm going to give it to him whether he's here or not. And I think that as a mom, I totally get it. As a person watching that brownie video, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? What is this? Your mom just died. You literally just killed your mom, and you're talking about brownies and sexual favors. Okay.
Yep. Not okay.
It was more like, I want to rape your mom after I kill her. Well, no, I don't want you to do that to her. Whatever you were going to do to her, you can do to me instead.
Yes. And that's
But
consensual.
that was clear consent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, and I'm convinced that it was in the same room because I think Nick would have wanted to see what he had just done to Dee Dee.
Huh. I've never thought about it that way. Looking at the crime scene photos, for me, I think it was in Gypsy's bedroom because of the way there was pictures of her bed being cleared off and things like that. And they talked specifically about that, about them throwing all the quote unquote toys on the floor, which is absolutely ludicrous for a 23-year-old to say. But, my toys, he threw my toys on the ground. Honey, you don't have, okay, whatever, toys. It's so, I don't know. But Colleen, you're right. I mean, I'm sure that would have gone through his mind, but maybe Gypsy didn't want that. I don't know. And there's not a whole lot of room on the bed with Dee Dee, unless he did it on the floor. I'm of the opinion that it probably still happened in her bedroom.
I think it could have been like maybe a combination of both. Like he's stabbing Dee Dee and then he gets an erection. He, gets some sort of ejaculate on Dee Dee. And Gypsy's like, okay, let's go to my room now, please.
Well, I still don't think that Gypsy was in the room when he was killing her. I do believe she enters the room later. And we'll talk about that later on when we get through, talk more in detail about the murder. But that's what we're talking about tonight. It's all murder all the time tonight. We've gotten through the text messages leading up to the day of the murder. It was just a little bit about we got 2 months worth of stuff, not really a whole lot there before the murder, because most of those are still being held for Nick's appeal. So it'll be very interesting when those finally come out. But tonight we'll be talking all about the actual murder, how it happened, how they planned it, what went down that night, what went right, what we have questions about still. And I mean, there's a whole lot to say about the murder. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened that night. And I mean, there's still questions that we have. There's still things that I don't think we'll ever get answers to. We were talking earlier tonight, Christina and I and Colleen, about some of the things that we had questions about. And Christina, you brought up a really good point. So, why don't you talk about that for a minute?
Well, I know the rape conversation had come up where Nick said his bad side, his evil side, had considered raping Dee Dee. And what we had discussed many, many months ago was just the thrill of the killing. Would Nick have possibly ejaculated on Dee Dee's body? And was that one of the findings in the autopsy report?
Right.
And that's always something that has been interesting to me, because I really do think that there's like a sexual aspect to the crime. And that's always something I find fascinating with Nick.
Well, I mean, that's a sexual sadist kind of thing, and he definitely shows tendencies towards that in other ways. The emails that he sent to others, the things that he even said to Gypsy, and even just asking about wanting to rape her dead body. I mean, that's just creepy.
Right, that's the making of a serial killer.
It's the making of a sexual sadist serial killer. I mean, there's no way to hide that. There's no way to sugarcoat that or make that sound any better than it is. No, he wanted to rape her dead body. And,
and that goes back to the McDonald's incident. Because of the porn was rape porn, correct?
Rape porn, yes. It was rape porn that he was looking at McDonald's. And his statement to the police in the police report that we have that we have in the Patreon account is definitely that he was looking at that and doing that because he didn't want to rape people. So, I mean, it's very, I would assume he probably did. There's no other reason why she would have asked him that in the questioning over and over again. She asked, I think 2, 3, maybe even 4 times.
Yeah, it was so many different ways. Like, did you kiss the body? Did you lick the body? Did you take your penis out and put it near? Like, there was so many different variations of what she was asking him.
Right.
That there has to be more of a reason. I'm sure they thought rape was a possibility at first, but
yeah, and I'm sure there was no evidence for it to be like ejaculation inside. So what I'm thinking is that when he laid that, we've talked about it before, there's a V on her hip, that is very clearly it's a V. I there's no way you can convince me any other way that is not a V. I believe that's V for Victor, and above it says kill. And I'm sure somewhere near there, I would assume that there would be some sort of DNA evidence of semen ejaculation, even if it just was through the pants. I mean, it could have seeped out.
Right, it got on her at some point. And to say that they did it in the house right after, like it. Not enough, and that's where we get into that culpability of Gypsy, because was she in the room when it happened? Did they have sex in front of Dee Dee's dead body? Did they go in her room? Really, where did that take place? And then X, Y, and Z, and staying around in the house, and there were a lot of conscious thoughts that were made.
Well, I mean, even for Gypsy to, say that she convinced him not to rape her dead mother's body, and that she convinced him that he could rape her instead, which if it was consensual, it's not necessarily rape. But I mean, I don't know, that I don't think she even understood what rape per se really is or isn't. She has no sexual experience whatsoever. She has no idea of what all that really truly is, because she said, well, yeah, he raped me in my room. Well, you gave him permission to. Whether it's rape fantasy of his or not is that's not the same thing as raping you. You said it was okay for him to take your your whatever and do whatever he wanted to do. Obviously he wasn't taking virginity, that had already been done in a fucking bathroom, but he wanted to have anal sex, he wanted to do whatever. And they had many conversations, as we showed in the text messages from last episode, about it. So, I mean, for her to claim it being rape, it's not really rape.
Even if it's just like role playing.
Yeah, it was absolutely consensual.
It's consensual. She can call it whatever she wants, but it was very consensual, and she chose that path. And the bargain was, well, don't rape my mom, you can have me. Well, that's still consenting, Gypsy, and she's in a relationship with the guy, and she's already had sex with the guy, and she goes to the hotel with them. They have sex there, and they even talk about in Wisconsin, the parents talked about how they had sex all the time. So I'm sorry, I don't buy the whole, well, he raped me afterwards. No.
And that's not to say that, being in a relationship doesn't, that doesn't mean you consent all the time. But in this situation, she said, you can do this to me. Role play it with me, XYZ.
Right.
She willingly had sex with him.
Absolutely.
Not he forced himself on me, but we're a couple.
Right. No, and that's absolutely right. It does happen in even husband-wife situations, boyfriend-girlfriend situations, absolutely. But this is not that. This is different. Not just like grab her from the bathroom, run her down the hallway, throw her down on a bed, and start his way with her screaming, no, no, no. That's not what happened.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. In every episode, we like to serve up a special dish from the state that our crime takes place. So here's our resident Cajun Mama Ty to tell you what our true crime dish of the week is.
Hey guys, it's me, Cajun Mama Ty here with, you guessed it, another great recipe. I know that y'all are probably getting tired of hearing me talk about recipe after recipe and, oh, how can all her recipes be so good? Well, have to tell you, they are. and you always want to add that little bit of Cajun twist to it. So today's recipe, as everybody knows, we're finally in the home stretch. The girls are talking about Wisconsin, talking about the murder of Dee Dee, and finally getting things wrapped up so that we can get on and move on to a bigger and better cases. So with that being said, I decided to do a recipe, and the recipe is called a Milwaukee, Wisconsin musaka. It's kind of like what us Cajuns would call a goulash. It's a combination of all kind of delicious things together. And you know, in Wisconsin, nothing is good without their cheese. So I can't wait to talk to y'all about how to make this Milwaukee, Wisconsin musaka.
They planned so much for things that really didn't matter, and not enough for the things that would have maybe possibly let them get away with the crime. So it was like they were paying so much attention to like things that in the long run really wouldn't matter, like how terrified Dee Dee was going to be. He was walking into a dark room where she was laying on her stomach to kill her. So did she even see that shirt that he planned for her to be so terrified? And then the things that, you know, they should have planned for was really just thrown together and not really planned for. So I always find that interesting, the way like their details were to scare Dee Dee and not to get away with the crime.
Yeah, you know, the other thing I thought was really interesting was they made a big deal about the duct tape, and there is no indication of that. No indication that they used it. You know, Gypsy was like, I'm going to pre-cut it, and he wants it, and do you want the Mickey Mouse one or the black one, or da-da. But there was no indication that was ever even used. There was no indication that she had any type of like residue, stickiness on her arms. In the crime scene photos, you don't see anything. We don't see that tape anywhere. There's nothing.
I think that's because Nick was so excited to actually do the murder that he couldn't take the time to bind her or put it over her mouth or whatever. I think he wanted to hear her scream. And I don't think he would have actually taken the time to bind her. I think once he was in that room, he wanted to murder her, and that was it.
Well, I think also that he probably would have been a little scared in the back of his mind, like, what if she makes too much noise while I'm trying to duct tape her, and I've woken her up now? There's no more surprise, because you can't just, you know, she's a big woman.
Right.
Like, you singly cannot pin her down to try to duct tape her wrists together and her legs together and her mouth at the same time to try to make sure that she doesn't make a sound or
escape.
You know, right, like, and then be caught. And then I think in his ego mind that he would have thought that, well, instead of just a home invasion and attempted murder, he wanted to do a murder.
Yeah.
And wanted it to be, and he was going to do it, not kind of chicken out or run out or, you know. So I think it's both. I think he was too excited to wait, but I also think he was too afraid to give her the chance to escape.
He said to him in the text messages, if anything goes wrong, just leave and run as fast as you can. And he was like, nothing's going to go wrong. Like, my evil side wants to do this.
Yeah, it's my evil side. He's going to make her die, you know, which, I mean, that's so scary. Like the way, and again, we've talked about this a lot, the way that he talks about the personalities, the way they both talk about the personalities is completely not indicative of having multiple personalities. The funny thing is I feel like Nick sunk his ship after the murder. The murder itself, I think if he had played the right way, if he had taken the plea deal, if he had, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode, we'll talk about the pleas and the trial and all that. But if he had taken the plea deal before he did that interview, I think he would have gotten 25 to 30 years and been out, you know. But because he talks about that benevolent angel and that malevolent devil and them being on the side and everything, that's where they get him for deliberation. You know, up until that point, they were still able to say that he really wasn't able to deliberate like you or I could deliberate, but because he talked about it in the way that he did, that's what sunk his ship, you know? And,
Right.
But I mean, I truly think he did. I think he thought about it, and I think he just like went in there and boom, gusto, you know. Gypsy handed him the knife, and there was no turning back for him. That was it. You know, he talks about how he wanted to stay true to his word, which I think is the craziest thing. Like, you know, and he talks about it in great depth that he was going to stay true to his word as if that was some sort of honorable thing to do. Dude, you are killing a person.
I'm going to save her. It was the Prince Charming thing. He's on a spectrum, but he's still on a high enough where he knows right from wrong because he made that decision. But I think he was like, I'm doing the right thing. I am saving her. Mm-hmm. But you're still killing a person, dude.
Right. Well, I've talked with a couple of people in this and that have followed this case pretty heavily, and in the past we've had a lot of differences of opinions, but since we've gotten further into this and more things have been revealed on both sides and our minds have been changed in some ways, I've had some extra conversations with those people, and one of them had talked about the fact that the deliberation factor is really not what anybody else could think of as being able for him to really understand deliberation. It's not like what you and I would deliberate, you know. It's not the same. Yes, he got on the bus. Yes, he made choices. Yes, he chose, but his deliberation is just so different. His thought process is so different that deliberation is not really something that he understands. It's a concept he doesn't get.
Yeah, and that's where it's his downfall. But if he just would have done what any good attorney should have told him and followed that direction, rule number one, you're on the defense side, keep your mouth shut. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but like that video that they made, you morons, keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
So many things. Don't talk. Just lay low.
Right.
That term is a thing for a reason.
Right. And they talk about, so, you know, there's been a big debate about the stabbing. I'm going to tell you right now, 100% all done by one person. So there's only two ways to look at this. Either Gypsy killed her mom herself and Nick took the fall, and I don't believe that happened. Or Nick killed her mom and he stabbed her 17 times. 4 of them were deep. 13 of them were not so deep. And he almost decapitated her mom.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Because here's the thing. People have asked about it. They've talked about whether she was in the room or not in the room. And we'll never know whether she was in the room or not in the room because I don't think either one of them will ever admit one way or the other the truth. Nick says she wasn't. Gypsy says she wasn't. But it's very clear that at some point in time, I do believe she was in the room. She admitted that in prison to some cellmates, and I truly do believe they would not have known that information to make it up. So I do believe that she did go in that room afterwards. I don't think it happened during the murder. But for it to have been anything other than one person, the stab wounds would have been drastically different. for it to be more than one person, that person would have had to sit in the exact, not like inches different, millimeters different, I mean exact same position with the exact same spacing to create the differences in the stab wounds. And there's no way. It just is not plausible. It was one person.
I think the reason that people have questioned it is because they say the 13 that were not so deep was that Gypsy. And I don't even get why, like, I don't know, is that a thing where people think when one person kills someone and there's multiple stab wounds, they're all the same depth?
Well, I think that where that really comes from is that Nick was very adamant about there being 4. But see, I think that those people are people that really want to give Nick some sort of out in some way, shape, or form. And I get it. Have autistic children themselves and would never want to think about their children, one, doing this, or two, if they did do it, that they would end up, in life in prison for the rest of their lives for something they may or may not understand. But I think that is not what they're not considering is that, he said 4. There were 4 very deep ones. There were 13 not so deep ones, which are superficial, stabs and slashes and things like that. But what I think that is that he did the first one deep in the, to really incapacitate her. And then he did his other 4 that were very deep. And then I think he really went into that rage. And we've talked about that before of, serial killers are not killing their victims. They are killing someone that they are upset with, or they feel have wronged them, or, something of that nature. And I really, truly believe this is that situation. I think it was a I see red kind of thing. And he went in the zone and he does not remember those 13 other stabs.
Right. I think that it's because of the depth, but I think a lot of people really underestimate the strength it really takes to stab a person, because we're not talking, when we get a paper cut, all of us are like, oh my God, it's so deep. No, that's not that deep. It's a paper cut. This is a stab. And not with, the best knife in the world, it's a sharp knife, but it's still difficult. And he had to plunge it through her back, which human anatomy, he's got to work around the spine. He's got to work around her ribs, and bones are strong, especially in a bigger woman. So she's got many layers of skin and fat tissue. So I think that, he did the 4 and, maybe she was still making some noises. And he was starting to go into that rage, but also I don't think his body probably had the strength to make 17 deep stab wounds.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And see, the thing for me is it's very clear, because in the interrogation video, she talks to him about the decapitation and the slice to the back of the thing. And we've talked about the slice to the back of her neck. We've talked about this before. It's not just a slice. It is a sawing that he had to do with the knife that he had. It was not just like a slice and he, almost like decapitated her all the way down to the bone. It's not like that. If you look at the pictures and you think about the knife and you look at the difference of the wound, that wound is a sawing wound. So what he had to do was he sawed on one side, then he had to flip and saw on the other side. So I believe that is the difference between the 4 deep, the 17, all together. And then the decapitation was a new part of that, like trying to saw her head off was the next part of what he wanted to do, so there's no way that it could be like, oh, okay, well, I did 4, I'm done. Then somebody else comes in and does 13. Then I'm going to hop back on. I'm going to decapitate her. That's not logical in any way, shape, or form, not even in the realm of murder,
right.
And
There would be
he admits to doing the trying to decapitate her. And I really think the decapitation would have happened. I think that it was taking too long, and I think Gypsy cried out from the bathroom, and that's what stopped the decapitation.
Right, and I think there would have been more evidence on the part of if Gypsy had came in the room and had jumped on and was gonna stab, because there would have been more evidence on the knife. There would have been more evidence in the bloody fingerprints. There would have been much shallower wounds, not just, shallower.
And although although Gypsy planned it, and Gypsy, she orchestrated it, she put it together, they planned it for a long time, I don't think she could have done it.
No.
I don't think she could have done it. If it had been left to Gypsy, I do not believe she would have gone through with it.
Especially had Nick do it instead of herself. I don't think she would have been able to do it, especially if her mom was still conscious enough to make a sound. I don't think Gypsy would have been able to do it.
No, not at all. And, they planned this for so long, but yet there were just so many mistakes.
It's like a bad episode of CSI.
I thought that the bad planning was because of such naivety. But now I question, is it because of the fact that Gypsy, didn't plan it well enough, because then she would have something to go back on and make it all look like Nicholas? I think I don't know. I feel like it's almost like it was so poorly planned that it was purposely poorly planned.
It was very much, she knew better on a lot of things, but it was done in a way that I think she knew. She knew if things went a different way, she would have the out. And Nick wasn't going to have the out.
Yeah.
But right, there was so many.
Again, another reason why I don't believe that she was in there stabbing. I don't think she would have done it, because I think she really truly believed the whole time, well, either we're both going to get away, or I'm going to get away. I don't think that for her, I truly just don't believe she was going to get her hands that dirty.
No, because like I said, there would have been way more evidence that, because they didn't plan enough for the 2 years they spent planning this murder. And there would have been way more DNA evidence, way more circumstantial evidence that would have showed that, yeah, she was, she hopped down there. She was taking some stabs too.
No, and I also do believe that he flew into such a rage that if she had been in that room, I do think that he could have gotten carried away and really turned on her too. Just in the moment, and I don't think he was going to let that happen. I don't think she was going to let that happen. So
I never thought about that, but yeah.
He talks about in the text messages, he talks about the fact that she has to stay away from him until down, or he might kill her too. That's why she's supposed to stay in the bathroom until he gets the knock, so that he can come out of being Victor and back into being Nicholas, or fucking whatever. I don't know. But I mean, that doesn't make sense with what happens, but that was one of the things that they were saying was, he might kill you too, so be careful, so that's why she was supposed to lock herself in the bathroom from the inside.
Yeah. So dumb.
I mean, and there's so many inconsistencies in this story too. That's one of the things that we've really tried to focus on, is these inconsistencies. One of them being that Gypsy says, "Oh, I was locked in the bathroom." Well, how? From the inside?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, because you had to unlock the door to let him in, and she even admits that, so.
Right, and that, it's just so annoying. Put my hands over my ears and la 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 la, pretend like it's not happening. You plan. I mean, I do believe that she was trying to block what he was doing out.
but like she knew what he was going in there to do.
Do you know where I think that comes
Wasn't she
from?
also supposed to be shaving at the time?
She was supposed to be shaving, but I don't believe she was. I believe she was, because she admitted she already had shaved. I believe that that's absolutely true, because I don't think there's any way that anybody could shave while somebody's bloody murder screaming. Okay, I just, I'm sorry. My kid comes in the bathroom while I'm in the shower and makes a noise, and I'm like, and I freaking, my whole shin is taken out. So there's no way that could happen. But what I think, where I believe that covering of the ears comes from is I honestly believe that comes from her earlier experiences with her mother, where her mom would cover her ears and say things to the doctors supposedly so that Gypsy couldn't hear or wouldn't know that she was saying that she was, very slow mentally or whatever. I think that's where that comes from. So I think that was something that she was accustomed to doing when it was something that she wasn't supposed to hear or didn't want to hear.
That makes sense.
Almost like a small child, no, I can't hear you. You know what I mean? Like, that's really where I think that comes from. And it was a coping mechanism that Gypsy does, because her mother taught her that. Cover your ears so you don't hear,
I mean, she had all these like turns. Like, I feel like instead of, doing that, like put in some earphones, blast some like Kids Bop.
But that's why I'm saying I think it was something that she was taking from what she had ingrained in her.
Yeah.
It's
just that poor planning thing, because
poor planning, terrible planning. terrible planning, and I'm sure she heard the whole thing, but
right.
I guess that's like her mechanism. Let me cover my ears and crouch down, and I don't hear anything, right? Oh, bullshit, we all hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's again why I still think that it wasn't working, and she was hearing her mother scream, and he was in the process of doing the decapitation, and she got tired of waiting and holding her ears and the whole freaking thing, and she screamed out, and he stopped, and then came running to her. So it's a crazy situation. The whole thing is nuts.
I think also it has to do with Nick's control as Victor, because I think the last 2 text messages we have, I think, is where he tells her, I'm here, open the door and get your ass in the bathroom, and she responds, yes sir, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was also part of like Victor taking control and telling her where to go and what to do, and she had to obey him.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Right.
Well, then at the same time, like, she yells out and he comes and gets her, like, you have dissociative identity disorder. That's not something. No one can just tell you, hey, snap out of it. Like, it comes when it comes. And goes when it goes.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. There's no just summoning this person or that person, or it doesn't happen like that. That's not how it works, We've talked about that several times.
I know. It's just so... Like, it's just more evident that
and the thing is the fact that anyone believes that at all boggles my mind, because I've had people say, well, he had DID. Do you know anything about DID? Because obviously no, he did not have DID. I don't have to be an expert in the psychological field for me to tell you that is not DID. We've seen lots of things about DID. That is definitely not how it works.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to share this recipe with you guys. Hey guys, it's me again, Cajun Mama Ty, coming with you. The recipe for Milwaukee, Wisconsin musaka. So as I was looking up exactly what a musaka is, I discovered that it is a dish, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a lasagna almost. It's an eggplant baked casserole, and it's layered. So that's what makes me believe that it's kind of sort of like an eggplant lasagna, but it really doesn't have a whole lot of tomatoes in it. It does have tomatoes, and it's actually awesome. I cooked it for my family the other day. I didn't tell them that it was eggplant. I knew it was eggplant, but they ate this up. So, to start out, what you're going to do is you're going to take your eggplants, you're going to peel them, you're going to slice them lengthwise about a ½ an inch, and you want to place your eggplant on the side in a colander to drip off any of the water or liquid that's on it. Go ahead and sprinkle a little salt, a little pepper on them just to give it a little flavor. And while that's drying, you want to go ahead, you want to cook your bacon. You want to get it till it's evenly brown. You want to drain off the excess grease. And then guess what? You want to take just a little bit of that bacon fat, and you want to mix what I call, the Cajun Trinity, your onion, celery, and bell pepper. I know the recipe only calls for onions and green peppers, but I use onions, celery, and bell pepper instead, and it came out absolutely great, especially with that bacon flavor. So once you have that all done and you have your bacon all browned evenly, you want to go ahead and put the mixture in with your onion, celery, bell pepper, stir in your tomatoes, put your seasoning, your little salt, pepper, your thyme, garlic powder, sage. And you want to take a little bit of some Slap Your Mama or some Cajun Tony Chachere's to give it some Cajun flavors to it. You want to keep it over a medium heat, and you want to cook that all nice and good. So next thing you want to do is go ahead and preheat your oven. You want to get your large baking pan, and you want to make sure that your eggplant has no you want to make sure that the eggplant gets all the moisture out of it. You can either take your eggplant and slice it and put it in hot grease and brown it, or I would go ahead and put a little bit of olive oil and put them in the oven to dry them out. Then you want to get your baking dish, and you want to put we're going to go ahead and layer everything. We're going to do a layer of the eggplant. Then you're going to do a layer of your bacon and seasoning with your tomatoes and stuff. Then you're going to go ahead and you want to put your cheese, because you know how these Wisconsin people are. And I'm sorry, Colleen. Colleen is one of our good wives. She's up there in Wisconsin. But we always tease about the cheese. So you're going to put your cheeses on there. And the Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese, whatever kind of cheese you can find. Then you want to layer you want to do a layer of eggplant, a layer of your seasoning blend with your tomatoes and stuff, layer of eggplant, and just keep on until you get to the top. Then you want to go ahead and you want to put that good old Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese, whatever kind of cheese you want to put on it, and then you bake it in the oven for about 45 minutes in the preheated oven on 350 degrees. You bake it uncovered, and you want to make sure that your cheese is nice and brown at the top. Serve it just like you would. You can cut it and serve it like lasagna, or you can scoop it out with a spoon. because your eggplant becomes really, really, really tender. It almost is like it falls apart into the mixture. Very, very good recipe. It's kind of sort of what we call a goulash because you got a mixture of things all together, but delicious. I give it a heads up, A+. Let me hear what y'all have to say. Go ahead, and when you listen to the podcast, you can hear where we send emails. If y'all have any recipes or anything y'all want to share, or any shout outs or anything that you want to give, just go ahead and send me an email to Cajun Mama Ty. Thanks. Y'all have a good night.
Ty, another great recipe. For the full recipe that was shared tonight, join us at our exclusive membership club at www.patreon.com/truecrimewives.
We talked a little bit about the murder itself. And now we're going to kind of get into the aftermath of that murder. You know, I mean, we've all talked about whether Gypsy was in the room while the thing was happening or if she yelled out or whatever. But I mean, there's definitely a case for the fact that she came in there at some point. They do talk about her cleaning up, and I think she made a mistake when she said that to certain people about she cleaned from the bed to the bathroom. You know, I do think about that. I think she went in there afterwards. I think she is who covered her mother with the blanket. Because that is classic caring of a body, you know?
Right, and Nick's not the one to make those caring, loving things. He just tried to saw the woman's head off.
Right.
Yeah. I think she went in the room to get the money from the safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she covered her mom.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, I think, like we talked about earlier, I do think that there was some ejaculation on Dee Dee's body. I don't know, Colleen. I don't think there was enough room on that bed for him to have sex with her on that bed.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think they did it on the bed. I just think there was probably he was already probably had a boner during this. Excuse my French here.
Right.
But I think that because he got excited, he's the, sadist,
Mm-hmm.
sexual, obsession there. And then, he goes and gets Gypsy, and maybe Gypsy's got some curiosity. What did he just do? So, they maybe go in there together, and maybe he still has a boner, and she's like, well, I can take care of it, kind of thing. And maybe,
yeah, but I don't know. He does talk about the fact that he wasn't able to finish with her, which again indicates that he probably already finished.
Right. And so I just think that he would have wanted to look at Dee Dee while he was getting his rocks off.
Oh, sure.
Whether fully, doing it in the room or even making out, just something I think he would have wanted to look at this, because I think all killers want to do that. That's why, like Ted Bundy,
that's
kept
why
going back to this,
to
the bones until he literally couldn't have sex with that body anymore because it was decaying so bad.
Right. Well, yeah, and that also, the return to the scene of the crime and all of those things too. I definitely think that plays into it. I'm sure maybe he started to do something with her in there, and then she maybe steered him towards,
her men.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's maybe why he wasn't able to finish with her, because he wasn't looking at Dee Dee anymore.
Right. Yeah. No, that might have been it too, but it also could have just been that he'd already ejaculated, and so he couldn't just get it up that quickly again, That's possible. But then again, he is a pretty young, virile guy, so I don't know.
Several hours in a McDonald's.
Right. Well, here's my thing. We and this is kind of a crazy. Everybody talks about it, but nobody knows, when did the brownies happen? Like, was she baking the brownies while he was killing her mom? And she said that she was in the bathroom and she was actually baking brownies. Did the brownies happen after, like, she was cleaning up and she was like, it'd be really good right now, some brownies? Like, the brownies make no sense to me. Like, when the brownies were made, just, I don't know.
Right, because she wasn't gonna be baking these brownies with her mom. Like, Mom, let's make some brownies. Nope. I don't even know where they got the damn mix for it. But
sure, there was a bunch of that crap in the house. So,
but right, like, here's some brownies. Like that. Oh,
yeah, that video was just so cringy.
Oh, that video was cringy. And you know what? Her reaction to it was even weirder. Like,
yes.
Because Christy was like, hey, did you know that they have this video of you and him in the hotel talking about him eating you instead of eating brownies? And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe they have that. I didn't want that to ever get out. Yeah, I bet you didn't. It made you look like a deranged lunatic. And people have talked about that. And again, this is another one that my mind was changed along the way. Like, originally, people were like, well, I'm sure they were both in shock and traumatized and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? No. I don't think either one of them have capacity for real emotions. And I don't think it was a coping thing or her being hopped up on, pain pills or anything like that, because she was used to taking pain pills. So that's not a viable answer. I truly believe that was just them being them.
Weird.
Yeah, that's just, they have no real feelings, neither one of them.
Right, because no person in their right mind would commit a murder and then have the balls to then make a crap.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Very inappropriate video and making that kind of crude joke.
Not to mention making the brownies in the first place.
And only, minutes to bake those brownies after the murder, to then eating them and making that joke a couple hours later.
Yes. And it kind of reminds me of the situation with JonBenet Ramsey, where they're talking about how everything that the killer left behind, the ransom note and the pen, and how he would have had to write the ransom note right there after killing JonBenet. Like, that reminds me of that situation. Like, whoever that killer was, whether you believe it's the family or the brother or the father or the mother or an outside source, like, that was crazy for a person to stand there after murdering a young girl, and write a ransom note and place it down there and do the things that they did. All of that, again, super strange. Like, that was ballsy to be able to stand around after a murder like that, whether you broke in or you were a member of the family. Either way, that was crazy. And it's the same kind of situation. Like, they stopped to make fucking brownies. Like,
right, like, right, because Nick's not going to make brownies while Gypsy's cleaning up the murder, and Nick is not going to clean up the murder while she's making brownies.
Right.
So either Nick is sitting in the doorway admiring his killing of Dee Dee while she's cooking,
Right.
Or he's just sitting around the house somewhere while she is baking brownies, which again, that's just not smart. It's not like he's wearing a hairnet. It's
right.
Not like he was wearing a full bunny suit like they do in the OR. Like this moron is just putting DNA all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, that goes back to, I feel like Gypsy laid that all out again. Like, I mean, I don't know.
It's just that. I think it's just her words. Eating these brownies now, but later you'll be eating me. Like, what are you for? Like,
But again, it goes to that really disgusting way of being so juvenile, yet sexualized in the same way, which, I mean,
it's perverted. It's
which
grossly
makes you
perverted.
wonder, it does make you wonder if Gypsy sustained some sort of sexual assault as a young child, or and that's very common in both Munchausen by proxy parents as well as the victims. It's common for them to experience things like that. And so that makes you wonder too, because the juvenileness of it, but the over hypersexuality, that comes from somewhere. That's not just, I don't know what I'm doing and I want to be, I want to be cool with my boyfriend. Like,
right. And it's just, I just never, and I still don't, understood the purpose other than to do this, but making that video. Why you could do it in that hotel room for a solid 3 days and just be all sorts of having a UTI, but why make that video? That's one thing that I didn't think would get out there, because it painted her in a bad light.
Well, we have talked about that many times, is that there was lots of things that Gypsy did not think was going to get out there, and that's part of the problem with our falling out was, I think that they had all really thought that they covered their tracks well enough that things were not going to get out. They didn't think that the interrogation video would ever be seen by the public. They really thought that they were in the clear on a lot of these things, even after the murder. And once we started uncovering that stuff, that it really went south pretty quickly with them, So and I think that they really, I think that was another oops moment. Like, I don't believe that they meant to give that that video to Erin. I don't know how she ended up with it. I don't know if it was in something that they didn't expect to give to anybody, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't get that video. They did not give that video to me. And all the different things I have the crazy thing where she's jumping off the thing. I have Dee Dee's old, stuff from the ROTC ball. I have tons of all that stuff. I even got all, 20 some odd hours of Nicholas's interrogation and his parents' interrogations. But man, did I not get the brownie sex tape, so I wonder if that ended up in there by accident and they truly didn't believe that was going to happen. I don't know.
Or it was just a happy accident for everybody else, because I think it really did help the general public look a little closer at this case.
I agree. And it's like you try to ignore those things. Like, those were things that we tried to somehow justify in different ways when we all started. And it was like the peeling back of the onion. Like, there was a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more that just didn't make sense, and this didn't make sense, and this didn't make sense, until you get to the interrogation video and you're like, holy fuck, none of this makes sense. Like,
Right.
Yeah, up until the interrogation video, I think there were ways to justify a lot of the things that didn't seem 100% right. But once that interrogation video was seen in full, it changed everything.
It did.
It really changed everything.
Right. And we're going to talk about that in our next part of this here. But I mean, that sex tape, wow. I just, woo-wee.
Yeah, the sex tape was like the one, it was really hard to justify it. I remember like, okay, she was taking a bunch of pills, so she didn't have any inhibitions at that time, and we're seeing a side of her that she didn't even know she had.
Right.
But once everything else fell into place and ended with that interrogation video, it puts a whole new spin on the Brownie video.
It does.
Well, and it's that short period of time between that video and interrogation video. Because it's not like it was 2 or 3 months later they were caught.
No.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. What if you could be a true crime detective right from the comfort of your own home? Dispatch is an interactive serial mystery that unfolds over several months. Imagine the experience of an escape room in your own home, a new kind of escape called Dispatch. It's a subscription box that is a step apart from everyday entertainment, better than a book, more engaging than television. Think of it as an immersive mystery where you wear the detective hat. The story begins with the first delivery, or dispatch, if you will. In it, you'll find physical clues that lead you to the web and back to the real world to unravel a mysterious crime. Grab a friend, the whole family, and your thinking cap, and get ready to put your heads together for one mind-bending ride, as additional details are revealed with every package. Check out the description for a special link to grab your dispatch box today and start your own true crime detectiving. We absolutely love hearing from our listeners, and we'd like to invite you to send us a question for us to answer or a case you'd like us to cover. You can do this in 2 different ways. You can send us a message right here at anchor.fm/truecrimewives, and we might play it live in one of our next episodes, or you can drop us an email at goodwivesdish, that's DISH, @gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Well, there was an issue with the bus tickets, with Nick supposedly having to buy his and Gypsy's, and the credit cards not being right, or he was incompetent and didn't get the right amount of tickets, the companion ticket, and they ended up needing to stay another day in Springfield, which was not the original plan, was not the intention. I'm sure they wanted to haul ass back to Wisconsin, which I'll get into that one. That was the stupidest decision ever.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should have
anywhere else in the world.
Right. I mean, they could have gotten a ticket to anywhere, gotten off halfway. We've talked about that. That would have been one way to not have to commit murder. But, and I truly believe that Nick would have probably gone for something like that. I do think that Nick has the propensity to want to commit murder, but I think that it had to be encouraged to actually take place. And I really that was a Gypsy, that there was no way in hell she was ever just going to walk away. I think she knew that this was going to be all bad. No matter what she did, somehow it was either going to be bad for her, or mother was going to find her, or they'd get caught for fraud, or I just think that
it was going to be bad.
I think she wanted her mom dead. That was it. She just did.
And so they again, stupid decision number 32.
Right.
They go back to the same hotel.
Yeah, right.
Which there's cameras,
mm-hmm.
and she's wearing a bad wig.
Mm-hmm.
But her face very identical face. Her voice, very identifiable voice. And they're staying there, continuing to doing it, I'm assuming, watching bad television. But then they're going all over town, and they don't have a car. You know, there's not really that many, like, city buses they're taking. They're walking a lot.
Yeah.
And walking to a Denny's, walking to the post office to mail the knife.
Like, why? Why did they not just get rid of the knife?
Right, throw it into one of the trash bags at a Walmart or behind the Walmart, anywhere, walking along that town, drop it into one of the sewage drainage ditches.
Anything
But mail it to his house.
And see, that's where I begin to think, okay, so first of all, you know, let's talk about the bus tickets for a second. So yeah, you know what? You can see that video. You can see her face, that she is livid when they cannot get on the bus. You can see it in her face. She's just so mad at him, and she doesn't do anything. You know, obviously she doesn't blow up anything, but you can see it like 9,000 different shades of anger on her face. And they make it back to the hotel, you know, and he does talk about her being angry with him at certain times and everything. And so, yeah, mailing the knife, though, that was her idea, not his idea. And I think it's so funny because their reasoning behind it is the stupidest fucking reason ever, especially considering that he had ridden a bus. He's ridden the bus 3 times already. He rode the bus to you. There was no metal detector. He rode the bus home. There was no metal detector. He rode the bus to you again. There was no metal detector. So for you to say that the reason that you're mailing the knife back to his house is because you were worried about metal detectors and you didn't know whether there was a metal detector or not, what in the fuck are you talking about? You know that there isn't. He's done this 3 times already.
Right, and even if that's the case, nobody is going to know what that knife is for. You tell them it's a hunting knife. You're going to Wisconsin.
Right.
I think that was Gypsy's plan B, though, because in the text messages at one point she tells him, well, hun, you might not even have to wear the gloves because we're going to get rid of the knife and no one will ever find it. And he says, no, he's still going to wear the gloves. So I think that was Gypsy's last ditch effort to find a way that if they did get caught, it would fall on Nick. Was, well, wait a minute, we can mail the knife to his house.
Yep.
Well, isn't it just like how they could have gotten off at a different bus stop and disappear that way? You know, there are, you know, breaks for bus drivers to get off and even change bus drivers, but to, you know, bathroom break, you're at a rest stop in Illinois somewhere, throw it in one of those garbage cans, throw it onto the highway. Anything but mail it to this sucker's house.
Right.
His house.
Well, and that's the
home
thing
address.
is I think that Gypsy had her own plan A, plan B, plan C.
Yeah,
and I don't think that Gypsy, I truly believe she thought one of 2 things was going to happen. We're either both going to get away with it and they're never going to find us, or I'm going to get away with it and he's going to go down for murder and I'm going to look like the innocent girl that had no idea what was happening and found out that my mother was murdered. I was scared to death and I got on a bus with him and left. Like, well, then her plan was foiled because 1, he didn't do it right, you know, so she couldn't get on the bus with him. 2, you know, she didn't think about the fact that text messages would be tracked or anything like that. She had no idea because at least she was, I mean, yeah, she was savvy, but not that savvy, you know, but I think she had her own contingency plans. And I definitely think one of those was, well, that fucker is going down. I'm not going down. You can see it in her interrogation video, you know, and as soon as she tries to turn it on to Nick, that cop tries to give her every out there is, you know, and he's like, did you try to grab the knife from her? Yes, I did try to grab the knife from him. I did, you know, and, but no, you didn't. You gave him the knife. You know,
right. You're the one who stole it.
You're the one who stole the knife. You're the one who placed it in his hand. You're the one that basically spun him around, like pinned the tail on the donkey and set him on his way to massacre her mom. You know,
Right, like,
I mean,
is she a light sleeper or a dark sleeper? Well, she's a light sleeper. She just took her sleeping med. Like, she goes to bed at 4 a.m. You said everything that a prosecuting attorney wants to hear.
Right.
And if she hadn't taken that plea deal, I think she knew she was going to go to jail.
Oh, yeah, because, like, we've talked about this before.
She didn't do the murder, so she wasn't guilty of murder.
Right.
So it was going to be Nick.
Yes. Yeah. And she took that plea deal. I mean, Mike did an amazing job. We've talked about this a million times about how crafty Mike was and what he did. I mean, he's a good defense attorney. He may work for the state, but he's a damn good attorney, because this tale that he crafted is not necessarily the real tale. And I think that he knew he did his job as a defense attorney, convincing her, this is your one shot. You know, you're not going to get a second shot. You go to trial. It's a gamble, and I'm not willing to take that gamble with your life. And I think that with Christy and Rod, I think they told her, nope, take it, you know. And Nick didn't have that person in his corner telling him to take a deal that he should have obviously fucking taken. You know, I mean, he was offered, some people say he was offered the same as Gypsy, but others have said that he was offered the 30 years. Now, I've seen where he was offered the 30 years and he turned it down. And he thought he thought that he could get it off. He thought he could get away with 15. Why should I do 30 when I can do 15? But, you know, his lawyers just were not as good at convincing him, because there was no way in hell he was getting off. Just no way. And she set him up from the second that, like you said, from putting, you know, telling him, oh, you don't have to wear gloves. Maybe we'll just get rid of the gun, get rid of the knife. Oh, I'm going to mail it to your house. Oh, we've got all this proof. I've told people about you. And, you know, and then let's talk about it. I think they sat down together and they decided what was going to be said, because I do believe that was Nick's words. I don't think that was necessarily Gypsy's words, or at very least it was Gypsy trying to think about what would Nick say. Or what
the Facebook post.
And I think she got there and realized, oh shit, I'm really in over my head. I got to get the hell out of here. How am I going to get? I don't think it had anything to do with wanting her mother's body found because she felt remorseful, or, you know, she couldn't bear thinking about her mom rotting. Like she said, nope. No. That doesn't go with everything else.
Right. No. And it was the breadcrumbs that I don't think she would have wanted to stay with Nick any longer than she thought she really needed to.
Right.
I mean, getting out into society, real world, not just her mom's world, and knowing how big the world is and all those options and choices, and then realizing who she picked.
I mean, come on. Are we all going to sit here and think that she really, truly believed he was normal, telling her he was a 500-year-old vampire?
Absolutely not. That's what I'm saying. Like, she was not going to stay with this dude.
No.
And I think she was going to be pretty skeptical on, if I leave him, he's going to totally kill me. I just watched him kill my mom.
Right.
And so I'm going to mail the knife to his house. I'm going to log in on my mom and I's Facebook page, think of what he would say, or Nick even says what he would have wanted to say, but Gypsy giving him the excuse, well, I just want somebody to find her. I don't want her riding there. You don't want her riding there. You would just abandon those cats in that house. Side convo, animal lover. And that he's gullible enough to believe every word that came out of her mouth.
Absolutely. And
to just say that was, you logged in onto that account and people were like, oh my gosh, did your account get hacked? What? And be like, no, this girl who everybody believed was so ill and so sick and vulnerable, help and the best mom and daughter ever, she's up in Wisconsin shacking up with her boyfriend that she's been having a secret relationship who just killed her mom, and
Right.
Gypsy helped planned it.
Right, and it'd be one thing if it had just been the one post, that fucking bitch is dead. Okay.
Yep.
If it had been that post, I might have thought that was just a have somebody find my mom, whatever. Until I saw the interrogation video. Once I saw the interrogation video, all bets were off. But at that point, I would have thought, okay, maybe I would have even thought maybe he did it, because he was like gloating or some shit. He logged in, he made her log in and looking, and he wrote it. Originally, that's who I thought did write it. I did not believe that it was in Gypsy to write that, any of that. But then when you get to that second one, and let's see here, what, somebody give it to me. I know somebody has it. One of you guys have it.
The second, the message?
Yes.
I mean, the comment.
Yep. I have it.
Got it.
Go,
So
Christina. Let Christina do it.
Okay.
Okay. In the comment thread, she then commented, "I fucking slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so fucking loud, LOL."
And it gives her away. I think if that had been him writing that, there would have that so, it's SOOOO. That's not a guy. Guys don't do that. That is a girl who does that.
Yeah.
That is definitely a woman who does that. But when I first saw it, I thought he made her do it. I thought that there was no way that she would have come up with that all by herself. They had to come up with it together. And now, like I said, after seeing the interrogation video, nope, I think she did it. I think she was sick enough to write that. I think she planned that. I think she thought about it for the 4 days while they were shacking up in Wisconsin, fucking like bunnies. I think she thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and thought, how the hell do I get out of here? Yeah, the sex is nice, but this guy's fucking crazy.
Well, and if you look at the grammatical mistakes that are in this, and then look at her writing that she's been sending out of prison.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, those are the same spelling mistakes. And, oh, that's the same style of writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she says she did it, but originally I thought that was a cover for Nick, and I thought maybe he forced her, but no, not anymore. Not anymore. Because you.
Good, right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's the grossness and that she was being intentionally vulgar. If it had been Nick, I think he wouldn't have done that whole, I fucking spelled wrong, and then all caps the rest. And the multiple O's, but then raped her sweet innocent daughter,
no, that's how Gypsy sees herself.
Exactly.
That's how Gypsy sees herself. She's the sweet innocent daughter, and that's not how Nick speaks. Nick doesn't talk like that. That is definitely her, and she admitted to it, but it was so hard for many people to reconcile that one, But when you go on into seeing her interrogation video, which is on our YouTube channel, Murder by Design, the whole thing is there. It is chilling. It is extremely, extremely chilling.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. Every great podcast needs a great website. Currently, our mother company, Mad Ginger Entertainment, is building their website using Bluehost. Bluehost is one of the best and most affordable web hosting platforms available. Plans start as low as $2.95 a month, and you can even integrate it with WordPress. So if you need your own website or affordable web hosting, grab our discount link in the description and get your podcast a bigger presence online at low costs.
Hey guys, it's me. Yes, with another French word of the day. Hey, it's Cajun Mama Ty. Just want to let y'all know I decided to head back to Louisiana and give you a good French word. And you know, with every French word, I always have a little story to tell or a little saying behind the French word. So today's French word is boucherie. Boucherie is a pig roast. And this time of the year, which is like the beginning of winter time, in Louisiana, we're sitting here in the low 60s, high 50s, low 60s during the day. And we are enjoying this weather. And it's definitely boucherie weather. So the process of a boucherie takes several days, sometimes even several weeks. You go ahead and you start with the slaughtering of the pig. Then the families get together and then they butcher the pig, kind of divvying up parts of the meat for each family. And then at the end, they have what's called a boucherie. It's a pig roast where each family makes something. So there's several different dishes that you find at a boucherie. And one of those dishes you'll find is hoghead cheese. Hoghead cheese is made from the meat in the hog's head. Not exactly sure how to make it. And I don't have a recipe for it, but I'm going to find a recipe for it. And that'll be another recipe for another episode. So another thing would be boudin, which is blood sausage. Yes, they do use some of the blood, but most of it is used with the liver, and it's like grind up meat, grind up liver with rice, and it's in a sausage casing. I personally do not eat it, do not like it, will not touch it, have not touched it, but my kids, my ex-husband, and people in my family love it. I won't touch it. And some of the other things you would find is gratons. Gratons or deep fried pig fat, or pig fat and pig skin. So the skin of the pig and the fat, they take it and they deep fry it once, get a little crunchiness to it, and then they take them out, dry them, and then they put them back into the hot grease, and then it makes little crackling sounds. So we call it gratons, but a lot of people throughout the United States and throughout even here in Louisiana call it crackling. And so that's another thing you'd find at a boucherie. Once the boucherie is finished, everybody takes their leftovers, they go home, and they have another feast the following day in their own little house, in their own houses with their little families. So we learned several different words today. We learned boucherie, which is a pig roast. We learned gratons, which is cracklings. And we learned boudin, which is called blood sausage. So 3 words in one episode. See you later, guys.
Well, tonight we've covered the murder and a little bit beyond the murder. And so we'd like to finish up this episode by talking about the interrogation video and our thoughts, our feelings, and how we feel it really played into all of this. So, I mean, I know we've talked about for we've said it over and over again, for our team, seeing that interrogation video changed, I think, everybody's perspective. I really don't think there was a person on the team that was not affected by that interrogation video.
No, because there's no way to not be affected by the video, and otherwise they wouldn't have been on the team. But anybody who even knows this case, automatically you think, oh, Munchausen by proxy, this poor girl, she needed to kill her mom. And then once you know the details, you're like, okay, well, she didn't go about it the right way, but she's not like totally capable. Maybe she's just not there mentally. And then they watch the interrogation video, and it changes it. It changes everything.
Well, not only did the video itself change, for me, the fact that I had asked for it for 2 years and been told every sing-song story in the book about it. First, it was, oh, HBO took it and they won't give it back. And then I started pressing that subject, and I was like, well, wait a minute, HBO has no right to it. It's not theirs. You can request for it. Let me see your contract. Let me see what they said about the materials that you gave them. Did you only loan it to them? Did you sign a contract? Oh, we didn't sign that contract. But wait a minute, I thought you were under a contract with HBO where you couldn't talk for 6 months. Well, yeah, we signed that part of the contract, but it didn't say anything about what we gave them or didn't give them. We just gave that stuff to them. Well, Mike gave it to her. We didn't give it to her. So Mike must have given them both discs. What do you mean Mike gave them both discs? And then it was like, well, maybe Mike lost his disc. He lost his disc. Okay, well, then Mike can re-request it, Christy. So tell Mike to re-request it. Oh, well, okay. I'm requesting it from Greene County. Oh, Greene County says I can't have it, which is true. Greene County did tell everybody they couldn't have it because I called and tried to get it from Greene County, and they wouldn't give it to me. And when I talked to my contacts at Oxygen, they said the same thing, that Greene County wouldn't release the interrogation video to them either. But the whole time it was sitting up in Wisconsin, and it was a public document, and it was released as a public document to many people, to Oxygen, to me, to a couple other Facebook groups that got it after us. And I think that even speaks more to me than just the interrogation video itself, because I think they worked extremely hard to make sure the interrogation video was only seen in the best light they could possibly paint it, because there was no way that anybody was not going to put it in their documentaries. But I think they struck deals with who put it out there as to how it was going to go out there. And they thought they had done the same thing with me. And I did not play that game. I had told them truth above all else. And I think that was, for me, even more telling than just the video itself.
Yeah. And it's because I think there must have been many conversations with Gypsy about why couldn't you have just been honest with them? Because then a lot of things wouldn't have even had to go very far if she had just been like, you know what, she medically abused me my whole life, and I made some poor decisions.
And that was one of the things that I had told Christy over and over and over again. I was waiting to see where in the video did it flop. Where in the video did she go from, oh my gosh, my mom is dead, to, okay, I'm going to tell you what this bitch did to me in my whole life. And we had numerous conversations about that. I said, there's got to be a point, right, where that happens. And she's like, well, there's got to be. You're right. And then you watch that video, and it is 4 hours of nope.
I love my mom.
Well, first it's sitting on the couch talking about Harry Potter and Disney World and the St. Louis Arch, and how she danced in the street at Disneyland. Not I was in my wheelchair boogieing. No, I danced in the street, and we've talked about this before. And Christina and I had a long conversation about that, about what that really meant. And how, that Carol from Make-A-Wish isn't going to be with them every single every day. So, I mean,
we had a good 10-minute convo on that on one of our episodes here for all of you.
Yeah. I mean, so no, that didn't happen. So I guarantee you she was really dancing in the streets, and she just sat there for 2 hours doing nothing. She slept, for crying out loud. You know, took a nap. And then, and then it was one lie after another lie, after another lie, after another lie. Meanwhile, Nick over there is just laying it all out for sister, I mean, like.
That's what I said, like.
Even before Nick laid it all out, if you just compare when they're alone, Nick is acting out the alibi. Like, I wonder why they brought us here. Her mom kicked her out the other day and all I did was go pick her up. And he's like out loud talking to himself, but running through the story that they were supposed to stick to.
Right.
And then you look at Gypsy and she's taking a nap and she's eating. And then she's having this great conversation with the officer about her vacations and stuff. And it's just from there, like before the actual interrogations even started, you see the difference in them. Like, Nick is all about sticking to the stories, protecting both of them, and Gypsy is just chilling.
Right, because it's just like with the Plan B, at the movie theater. Like, she had a script for him to say. She had a script for him to say it for this interrogation video, and he could not stick to that script. He kind of crumbled very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
He did. And that's because, I mean, in all things, Nick's a pretty truthful guy.
Right, I was just going to say that he has said a few lies here and there, but, the cop is like, why'd you? And he's like, well, I did do it, but she kind of asked me to do it. Right. Because she kind of has been abused by her mom. Yeah. And he just started, he's like, all right, well, I did. And it's like, should have just said, I need an attorney. Like,
well, that's the funny thing is, I think it's so interesting that neither one of them asked for an attorney for totally separate reasons.
Yeah.
Nick was too, and I'm not being mean, he was too simple to ask for a lawyer. He did not realize he could ask for a lawyer. He didn't even think of it. It didn't cross his mind. He was too simpleton to think of that. Okay. He's not a complex guy as far as that goes. And I think that it didn't even occur to him that that was something that he could do. Now, Gypsy, on the other hand, I think that she totally thought, I could ask for a lawyer, but if I ask for a lawyer, I look really fucking guilty. And so I'm not going to ask for a lawyer, and I'm going to lay this either on I don't know, and if they don't have text messages and they don't have anything, they got nothing, so fuck them. Oh wait, they got shit. They're now telling me that Nick's saying some stuff. Oh crap. Okay. All right, well, Nick did it. Nick did it. He hated my mom hated him. He did it. He's crazy. Have you seen things? He needs help. He needs serious help. I was so scared. Blah, blah, blah. And she lays it all on him. I mean, and it becomes just, and then there's that last 6 minutes where he comes back in and tells her the snowball has gotten too big and that she's caught. And what's the first thing she says? I want a lawyer.
I want a lawyer.
I want a lawyer. She knew she could have a lawyer. She knew the whole time. She didn't think she needed one. She didn't think she would need a lawyer. She thought she was going home.
Yeah, because that's what she really thought. She thought that they didn't have anything. She thought they could delete text messages and that it was untraceable, that there was going to be no real proof that she had any culpability in it, and she had set the traps for Nick to fall in, and that she was, poor me, I'm going to go home and then I get to live as my own person, free as a bird.
She even asked, when can I have my stuff back? When can I go back to my home?
Like, you crazy
That's
bitch.
a crime scene. You can't go back to your home. That's a crime scene. You're never going back to your home again. Are you crazy? When can I be out of here? I don't want to stay here any longer. I want to go home. Not back to my boyfriend's house. No. I want to go home. It wasn't, when is Nick and I going to get out of here? When can we go home? Nope. When can I go home? I want to go home.
I just like how honest Nick was about it. Like,
I did too.
Yeah, I did it.
Yep.
Because he, very quickly falls, but then they just let Gypsy just fall into their trap. for 20 some hours, they just let her sink her own ship.
Right. Well, I don't think he had all the text messages yet when, you know, he was in there the first time. I don't think he had them until he came back. Because I think he really truly did believe her last story of it being Nick.
Yeah.
Until those text messages. You know, and then that's the first time she mentioned she's sick. Oh, I can't go to prison. I'm really sick. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, I wanted to just.
It's cringy. It's painful. It's like you just spent the last 7 hours playing pretend and taking a nap and rocking on the corner. And then I love my mom. Oh, she's dead. What? No. What do you mean? She's dead.
Did she die of a stroke? Was it her diabetes? Did she commit suicide because I left her? I should have never left her. I mean, it was Academy Award winning freaking
performance of the year.
Performance of the year, man. Like,
girl, reality check. You were there. You stole the knife.
There's just drama. Everything. If you go even like look at the text messages, the same thing. Like, will you kill my mother? Yes. Well, promise me the good side of you will never die.
Right.
Like, everything was just so drawn out and dramatic for her.
It was almost like I am a huge Gone with the Wind fan. Okay, I love Gone with the Wind, and I kind of see Gypsy as almost like Scarlett O'Hara. It's like, oh, I do declare, you know, like, oh my God, my mother is just so terrible. Like, you know what I mean? It's just it's unbelievably awful. And I love Scarlett. I think she's amazing. She's a strong, hard woman who survives everything and comes out on the other side. And it's such a great tale. But if you thought about it in the way of if Scarlett O'Hara was a murderer, you know, like it's got the same principles of like this very manipulative, very conniving girl who is very dramatic and knows how to play the boys, you know, to get her to do whatever. It's like that even. And I mean, she even, you know, Scarlett even is able to play Rhett Butler, who's the manliest man of all men, right? So same thing here. Gypsy just plays it and plays it and plays it and plays it. And I think that she thought she was going to do that with all of us until we got that interrogation video. And then it was like, oh shit, I done fucked up. You know?
See, to me, it's like watching like General Hospital or a day of the Days of Our Lives. Like,
yes.
What? Like, no, like, oh, those cliffhanger moments.
Dun, dun.
Like, no. You can't pretend that the last 7 hours didn't, you know, mean anything. That the last 2 years didn't mean anything. Because you can't just lie to somebody's face on camera for
right. Well, it's
hours.
also almost like a bad Jenny Jones or a Maury Povich, where it's like,
yes,
you know, she's like, oh, he can't possibly be the father, you know, and then they're like, well, I hate to tell you this, ma'am, but
he is the father.
He is the father. Like, you know, she's like, no, he is absolutely 100% the father. There's absolutely no chance that he's the father. Okay, well, if he's not the father, then I know that Joey is the father. Ma'am, I'm sorry, Joey is not the father. Okay. I mean, I know thought it was Brian, and I thought it was Joey, but you know what? I'm absolutely 100% certain. Michael has to be Michael.
See, right? No, you're playing on my emotions because I DVR'd that show and Steve, and because I'm all in my feels about that.
Oh, I mean,
because it's true.
When I was a kid, like
because it's so true. It's literally it. It's one of my favorite things of like my life is watching these women say, "I never slept with anybody else," especially when they're the young ones, like the 15 and 16-year-olds. And she's like, he took my virginity. I've never slept with any other boy, and he is the father. And then the dude's mom is also there, and she's like, I know my son is not the father. And then the dude's jumping up and down like, and he's like, you are not the father. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he's like, we will, be gladly have you back to test the other guy. And then she brings like 4 other dudes that time. And then it's, none of them were the father. And so then she has like, there was one of them who literally came on the show 9 times.
Yes.
And like
yes,
2 or 3 men per episode. And it's like, you have got to be kidding me. Just like, was your baby switched at birth? Because this is getting too obscene and gross and get tested.
Right.
Like,
exactly. But that's exactly what that whole interrogation video was. It was like, first it was like, what? Oh,
no.
Are you sure? Oh, she can't be dead. And then
diabetes?
Like, diabetes? Did the diabetes kill her? No? Oh, okay. Did she have a stroke? Did she overdose on medication? Oh, no. Okay. Well, maybe she killed herself. It was like, oh my God, just give it up. Just give it up.
Right, because clearly they found her body.
Right.
She did not stab herself in the back 17 times.
Nor decapitate herself.
Right, like that's not how she died, lady.
Like, I mean, that was just completely ludicrous that she even thought that any of that would even work and I don't think she did. I truly believe that was all an act to just be like, well, I had no idea until he threw me in a taxi cab and, with the brownies.
Blindfolded.
Yes, blindfolded with the brownies. He threw me in a taxi cab, dragged me to the bus station, threw me on a bus, and I had no idea where I was going.
Yeah, no, because you were willing. There's video of you all over fucking town.
Right.
Walking.
Not to mention the video, not to mention the text between the two of them, because they couldn't sit together on the bus because the bus was full. So they had to sit apart. So they were talking and texting all the way to Wisconsin.
A long bus ride, just for all of you who don't know how far that is away. It's not really 20.
I think it was 18, wasn't it? One way.
Because I've gone down there for color guard, winter guard, it's about like 8, 9, depending on which freeway you take.
Yeah, but not on a Greyhound. It's not. It's 18 hours.
Right, because they make stops.
Yeah, it's 18
and so yeah, long time.
Greyhound. And it's like, I mean, they talk about having sex on the bus in front of people. They want to have sex on the bus. You could come back here and sit on me and we could do it. I mean, it's
you were getting kicked off the bus in Iowa, lady.
Well, that would have been a good idea, good thing for them, but
yeah,
that didn't happen.
Like, right? Because then what are they gonna call like Nick's mom? Be like, hey, can you wire us some money? No.
Can you imagine trying to explain that to Nick's mom? Well, we got kicked off the bus. Why'd you get kicked off the bus? Well, because Gypsy and I were having sex on it. Like, what? No,
walk your ass back.
Walk home. I mean, she sent you $500 for the bus ticket. I mean, she's got to have more.
Also, that's a whole another side note of conversation that I just love. Why that was the means of transportation. There are cheaper options, people.
I know.
Buses and trains.
I know. And then, the last part of the interrogation video, there's only one saving grace I can say in the interrogation video that I saw. She did at some point in time, if you see it, she looks up and she says something to the ceiling, and it looks like what she's saying is, I'm sorry, Mom. And I don't know if that was genuine or not. I'd like to believe it was genuine. I don't know. But then after that is when she's laying on the ground. Like, that was the most, oh my God, her laying on the ground and like listening underneath. Like, it couldn't have been better if she had like a cup, like pressed to the door.
Yeah.
And the officer comes in and he's like, ma'am, what are you doing on the ground? Oh, I was just scared. I wasn't scared of the 500-year-old vampire. I wasn't scared of killing my mom. But I'm definitely scared that you figured out that I am crazy and that I'm going to jail.
Yeah. You crazy pants.
Ugh. Anyway, so So from here on out, guys, it'll be the aftermath of all of this. We're going to wrap it up in a nice little bow. We'll talk about the plea deals, the trial, where they're at now, things, relationships they've had in prison, conversations that we've all had with them, and going forward. And then that's it. And then we'll do some follow-up stuff. We've got some bonus episodes that we've promised you, one with Diana, our psychologist. We have the jailer who we're going to talk with, or well, we've already talked with, but that we're going to release as an extended bonus episode. And then hopefully we'll have our Munchausen by proxy experts, where we get to talk with them a little bit about just Munchausen by proxy itself. So, I mean, that's what we have on the horizon for you guys to wrap up this whole Gypsy Rose Blanchard saga. I'm sure there will be updates throughout the years as things unravel from here. I'm sure there will be. This is not the last we have heard of Gypsy Rose.
No.
And then once we get through Nick's appeal, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that will come forward that we'll probably want to discuss again at that time. So
definitely. All right, guys. Well, I hope you are in for a doozy of the wrap up, because it is going to be a lot. It's going to be thrown at you. It's going to a lot of feelings and opinions.
And feelings and opinions.
It's going to be like, it's a roller coaster of emotion that you are going to be listening to, but I think you're going to have some emotions and opinions yourself. So,
and if you have emotions and opinions that you'd like to share with us, please either email us or send us a little clippy clip that you can do, which we told you about earlier in the episode. We would love to hear your thoughts, feelings, opinions, anything you'd like to say about this case, because we like to hear ourselves talk, but we sure like to hear you talk more. Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives.
Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get the full recipe shared tonight, inside documents and pictures from the case, bonus mini podcast episodes, live YouTube discussion, and an exclusive invitation to our discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merch.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check us out on YouTube at Murder by Design, where we're currently talking about a few different true crime cases, from bullying murders to serial killers. We dish it all.
Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.